Let's go. Yes, sir. It's Sunday. It's game day. Welcome to 49ers Game Day with your host, Kenny Caraway, here on ESPN 1320. Once again, we're up early. Y'all, but it's all good. It's all good. I didn't have some coffee. Haven't had anything to eat yet, but I had some coffee. I'm ready to go. I'm hyped and ready to go. You can catch us, like I said, on an Odyssey app on ESPN 1320. If you're riding around in your Jeep or your Benzos, turn the dial to ESPN 1320. If you want to interact with the show, if you want to see my handsome face, yes, I'm handsome. What more you want me to say? All right. If you want to see my handsome face, ESPN 1320 on YouTube and Twitch. And it's the San Francisco 49ers against the Philadelphia Eagles today from Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Both teams coming into this game 1-0 on the season. The Eagles are coming off a 32-6 beatdown of the Falcons last week. That was nasty at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. But the 49ers, they're coming off a game against the Lions that should have been a 41-17 beatdown. However, craziness ensued at Ford Field for the final 3 or 4 minutes of the game, and a 41-17 lead turned into a 41-33 heart stopper with a little bit more than a minute left in the game, and the Lions had the ball trying to march down the field and tie the game. Either way, the 49ers came away with a 41-33 win over the Lions, like I've been preaching all week. A win is a win is a win, especially in the NFL when there's only 17 games in the season. So you take the win however you can get it, and you can move on. There's a saying in boxing: win tonight, look good tomorrow. And if you do that 12, 13, 14 times in a year, I'll take that. All right. Win today, look good tomorrow. All right. There was a lot of good in that game, though. I will say this. There was a lot of good in that Lions game for the 49ers. Like I mentioned, they were up 41-17 in the fourth quarter. Let's be honest. They dominated that game. They were beating the hell out of the Lions until that fluky finish to the game. Jimmy G, he looked really good going 17-25, 314 yards and a touchdown. He was slinging that ball all around Ford Field. Deebo Samuels had a huge afternoon. Remember, I was the one that told you on this very show, Kenny's keys to a 49er victory. On this very show, I told you he was going to have a big game even before everything got started. I told you Deebo was going to eat on Sunday, And he did just that. 9 catches, 189 yards, and a touchdown on the day. And then his rookie running back, Elijah Mitchell, that was thrust into major playing time in the middle of the game, ended up having one of the great debut games in the history of the San Francisco 49ers, going for 104 yards on 19 carries and a touchdown to match. The defense looked really good. D Ford, Nick Bosa, they looked great in their returns. They were both out there making game-changing plays all throughout the game. It was all good. But then they blow this fourth quarter lead when people started to drop like flies towards the end of the game, and it ended up leading into one of the worst injury report weeks that we've seen in recent memory. And that's saying something after what we saw last year. But it was the injury report week from hell starting on Monday. Now, this is crazy. Like I just mentioned, 1 year after having one of the worst injury seasons I personally have ever seen, 49ers play one game, and they've already lost 2 starters for the season. Not just he's out a couple weeks, he's down for all this. They lost him for the season. Raheem Mostert, he announced on Tuesday that he's going to have season-ending knee surgery to repair cartilage in his knee. And it sounds like something that he probably had been dealing with for a while, probably tried to play through it. It would sometimes get better, and then after a while, it would flare up again. And on Sunday against the Lions, it flared up after only 2 carries. He made his decision to get full surgery that was going to be needed for that knee. Initially, it was reported that on Monday that Mostert was going to be out 6 to 8 weeks and that he was going to just have this minor procedure to repair what was going on in his knee. D'Lo and I, we were both saying right after we heard the initial diagnosis, I don't know about that one right there. I speculated at the time. I wasn't sure we were going to see Mostert at all this season, or at the very least, I was going to mentally prepare myself not to see him play for the 49ers again this season. Then we got the news the following day that his season was over. Look, man, he's going into a contract year. He's probably looking at it like I've got one more shot to get somewhat of a real contract, and he wants to go into the offseason 100% healthy, or as close as to 100% healthy as he can get. And I completely understand that, man. It just sucks because I feel like the marriage between Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner and the way they like to run the ball, combined with the strengths of what Mostert can bring to the table, the speed, the power that he was able to run with, it was a match made in heaven. It was absolutely perfect, man. These two groups were perfect for each other. And it looked like after the 2019 season, we were headed for years of this pairing, and to never really see it again, that just sucks, man. It absolutely does. But I definitely wish Mostert a speedy recovery and hope he comes back at full strength next season for the 49ers or whoever he's going to suit up for. But that wasn't all. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Jason Verrett tearing his ACL in the fourth quarter of that game against the Lions, one of the most heartbreaking moments you'll see on a football field. Verrett on the ground crying literally within a minute of the injury happening, not because of the pain, not because of the physical pain of the injury, so to speak, but more so of the pain of something like this happening to him again. He's had a torn ACL before, so he knew exactly what time it was when it happened. So the tears and the crying was just him knowing what had just taken place and the devastation of having this happen to him again. It was tough to see. It really was, man. It was really tough to see. I really felt like this team, this 49er team, was shell-shocked after that moment. It seems like Verrett is extremely well-liked in the locker room, extremely well-respected in the locker room, not only because of his talent, but because his teammates, they know his story. They know how highly touted of a prospect he was coming out of TCU, how his career had been plagued by injuries, devastating injuries, a ruptured Achilles, a torn ACL, even before this one, how he has battled back from those injuries to get to the place he is with the 49ers today, and that's being the team's best corner. They admired and respected all of that. And to see him go down in that way, man, look, man, these guys are human beings. They're absolutely human beings. There's no doubt in my mind that they were shook after seeing that and seeing Verrett go down. Hell, Kyle Shanahan he was shook after seeing that as well. He said as much after the game. Kyle, the team, this fan base, we all have a little bit of PTSD after what we witnessed last year when it comes to the injuries. So I don't blame these guys if they were a little shook in that fourth quarter over seeing some of these guys go down. And then that wasn't it. To add more insult to injury, no pun intended, it was reported later in the week that Dre Greenlaw, who had maybe the biggest play of the game, a pick six of Jared Goff late in the first half, it was announced that now he was going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with a groin injury. And the 49ers now have to deal with life without him as well. And I talked about it a few different times, that I thought that linebacker group for the 49ers, I thought that's the best group on the team. They looked great on Sunday. And then when things were getting a little fishy early in that game, I felt it was Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. Those two guys stepped their game up and took things to a different level for this team and got them in a little bit of a comfort zone. So while he isn't out for the year, it's still a tough blow to the defense. Now, when you talk about the football aspect of everything and what this team needs to do moving forward, we'll talk about Jason Verrett's injury first. I feel like they can recover a little bit from this Verrett injury. You got Emmanuel Mosley, who is working out this morning. He's probably not going to play today, but he's on his way back. You're going to possibly have to throw the rookie, Diamonor Lenore, into the fire a little bit. But it looks like he's up to the challenge. The way that he's played in the preseason, the way he played in week one. He went 90 snaps in week one against the Detroit Lions. You got Josh Norman, who looks like he's going to be the starter today. He'll be active this week and beyond. You signed Dre Kirkpatrick for even more depth. Maybe you even pick up the phone, hello, and see if Richard Sherman has his mind right and is ready to continue his playing career. And I'm not trying to make it like everything is perfect. I'm not trying to make it like everything is awesome like the Lego movie, all right? But I made this point earlier in the week. You look at everything that they have in the secondary, and aside from Richard Sherman, they potentially have the same exact secondary they had in 2019. You swap out Sherman for Lenore or Josh Norman for a guy that couldn't cover his own shadow that year in Akello Witherspoon, and you have the pieces in place from a secondary that was historically good just 2 years ago. Now, once again, everybody calm down before you come at me. I'm not expecting them to produce on that level where they will be this historically great secondary. No, that's not what I'm saying. There's going to be times and there's going to be games where they're going to struggle against certain wide receiver groups. That's just what it is. Certain tight end groups. It's going to happen. But the key is, and the bottom line is, as long as that front seven is intact, they can continue to get pressure on the quarterback, only bringing 4. That's going to be the answer. If they can do that, I think they can survive with that secondary. I really do, man. But they got to make sure they stay healthy on the front seven. And then once again, bringing pressure with just those 4. I think the secondary can make it through. On the running back side, with Mostert out, you got some question marks because all of these young guys, they're young, they look good, but they're improving in this league. You got 2 rookies, one with Elijah Mitchell, who looked really good in that game against the Lions. He looked really good, but he's still a rookie. He's played 1 game in this league. Then you got Trey Sermon, who we all had high hopes for, but he couldn't even find his way onto the active roster in week 1. So you expect some things, but that's a question mark as well. Then you got Jermichael Hasties, who I like, but we haven't seen that much from him. Once again, I like all 3 of these guys, but until you see it on a consistent basis, you just can't rely on it. I will, however, rely on what Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner have done historically in the running game, and that's excel no matter who's carrying the rock. And I'm also going to rely on the fact that this is an offensive line that is one of the better running offensive lines in the game, and they'll create holes and running lanes necessary to keep this running game successful moving forward. Plus, I will remain committed to Kyle Shanahan being committed to the run moving forward. So he's going to make sure that this team can run the ball effectively and consistently. Then we'll see how that works out today in Philadelphia. We're going to take a break, but when we come back here on 49ers Game Day, we'll hear from Kyle Shanahan about the week of practice from 2 guys that were major topics of conversation, and Trey Sermon and Brandon Ayuk. We'll also hear what he thinks about the Eagles and what they're bringing to the table today. Plus, we'll get the POV from Philly as we'll hear from Elliott Shore Park, Eagles reporter of WIP in Philadelphia. We'll hear from him. We'll hear from our guy, Kyle Madsen, as he joined D'Lo and KC earlier this week. Plus, we'll have Kenny's keys to a 49ers victory in the city of brotherly love. We're just getting started, man. It's 49ers game day. It's Kenny Caraway right here on ESPN 1320. Appreciate you, man. Let me see what the people talk about here, man. Matt George, how dare you? So I don't know what's going on in the chat. When I'm by myself here, I'm locked in, you know what I'm saying, to what I need to do. So if you guys were saying something in the chat, it was not seen in that first segment. It may be seen in the second segment, though. Raider takes are from Monday to Thursday. I don't even talk about the Raiders on Friday. All right. Monday to Thursday, Matt. Bro, Lego movie was well. Oh no, he's 1-0. Charlie's 1-0. John, the Lego movie, the Ninjago Lego movie is phenomenal. It's one of the great kids movies I've seen in a long time. I love that movie. Scott Lee, what's popping, man? Oh, Scott Lee, if this is who I think it is, Scott Lee, I didn't hear from you yesterday on Twitter. I didn't hear from you yesterday on Twitter. Your boy go 3-0. I don't hear from Scott Lee on Twitter. What's up, Scott? What's up? What's up? Appreciate you for tapping in, by the way, man. Hey, Charlie, I got a couple of rejoiners lined, like the highlights lined up. I'll control it from my end when we come back in. Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Sounds good. Warren, what's up, boss? I thought we were going to go straight through. We got a second break today? I'm gonna go straight through. It should be good. If anything changes, I'll hit you in Slack like, yo, let's take another break. But I think we can go straight through if that's okay. Okay, thanks, man. Josue, what's up, man? Nah, the Ninjago Lego movie. That's the one right there. That's the one. The other ones are cool, I guess. I haven't really locked into them the way I did Ninjago because my son loved Ninjago, but that's the one. That's the one. What'd you say, Matt? If the Raiders and Niners play today, what's the final score? It's like it's probably like 28-20 49ers. Niners will beat the Raiders. Raiders got some things going on, though, man. I like their offense. It's the Matt George. Yes, it is, Charlie. Matt, Charlie says you've been up too late changing diapers. I like the Raiders more than most, so they're all right. All right, we're coming back, guys.
Garoppolo flipping the run play here. The lone back is Elijah Mitchell. Toss right side behind the tight ends. Flags are down. Mitchell into the secondary. Breaks a tackle. Touchdown! San Francisco!
There's a flag on the play. We got to see what the call is. I think it's going to be against the Lions. What an unbelievable block by Mike McGlinchey out on the edge. Wow.
And Debo going to go in motion. 2-by-2, 2 right, 2 left. Jimmy in the shotgun on third down. They blitz. Anzalone. Jimmy gets hit. Fluttering ball down the sideline. Caught by Debo Samuel. Breaks a tackle now and will run all the way inside the 20, the 10, the 5. Touchdown! San Francisco. How did he catch that ball? 79 yards.
The 49ers are hoping to see a little bit more of Deebo Samuels reaching the end zone today, just like they saw him dominate the Lions in week 1. This is 49ers game day here on ESPN 1320, by the way. You can check us out on the Odyssey app. And once again, I like to say in your Jeeps or your Benzos, turn that dial. If you want to see me, if you want to see what's going on in the chat as they're active this morning, you can tap into ESPN 1320 on YouTube and Twitch as well. But once again, I'm Kenny Caraway, 49ers going up against the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. They like to call that place the Link. The 49ers looking to start 2-0 for the second time in the last 3 seasons. Speaking of Deebo Samuels, 189 receiving yards last week against the Lions, the 14th most receiving yards in the history of the league. I didn't study. I didn't start it. 14th most receiving yards in the history of the league. That's pretty impressive. It was also the second highest receiving performance yards-wise in 49er history in a week 1 game, the most being Anquan Bolden in week 1 against the Packers in 2012. He had 208 yards in that season opening game against Green Bay. I remember that one at the stick. Bolden and Cap were absolutely unstoppable. We also heard Elijah Mitchell's 38-yard touchdown run during that rejoiner as well. Elijah Mitchell's 104 yards rushing was the most ever by a 49ers running back in their NFL debut. In fact, it was the first time in franchise history that a 49ers running back even ran for 100 yards in their NFL debut. What a performance by Elijah Mitchell in week 1. So it ended up being very clutch as well, as the 49ers needed pretty much all 104 yards that Elijah Mitchell rushed for. And we're looking forward to see what he can do for an encore today. Let's go around the dial and check out the NFL scoreboard real quick. Usually when we do 49ers game day, there'll be games going on because the Niners will be playing a 1 o'clock game. But once again, we're up early, 10 a.m. I'm going to just let you know what's going on for today. Let's start on Thursday, though, as we saw the Giants lose a heartbreaker to the football team on Thursday Night Football. It was a pretty good game, man, 30-29. I enjoyed it. It was an entertaining game. It was a thrilling game. It was suspenseful. So there was that between those two teams. Cincinnati at Chicago starts off the slate here as the Bears kick off their home opener against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Houston, the 1-0 Houston Texans, going to Cleveland as they take on the Cleveland Browns. The Rams, they fly to Indianapolis and the Colts. They're trying to avoid going 0-2 as they got beat up by the Seahawks last week. Now they got to go up against the Los Angeles Rams this week. Tough 2-game stretch for them. We'll see if Matt Stafford and those guys are ready for an encore for what they did on Sunday Night Football last week. Buffalo at Miami. The Bills, with a tough loss last week to the Steelers at home, have to go to Miami, who they have dreams and aspirations of being NFC East, AFC East champions. And this will go a long way if they can get a game on Buffalo against them head to head, and also send them to an 0-2 start if you're the Dolphins. That game's going on in Miami. New England at the Jets. Robert Saleh, our old friend Robert Saleh, starting off his Jets home opener against New England. Mac Jones and all them boys going to MetLife Stadium. I was about to call it the Meadowlands. It's no longer that. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. That's a 10 a.m. start as well. The Raiders, coming off their unbelievable all-time Monday night victory to kick off football in Las Vegas. They now go across the country, have a 10 a.m. start against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I mentioned earlier, got a big win against the Bills last Sunday. We'll see what the Raiders can do. They're going to be without Josh Jacobs. We'll see if they can bounce back from that loss, that injury loss, and rebound off their win against the Baltimore Ravens on Monday night. The Saints at the Panthers, both of these teams 1-0. Jameis trying to go 2-0 for the Saints. This one's going to be in Carolina. Denver going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've said I'm not going to say they're going to go 0-16, but keep an eye on when Jacksonville is going to win their game. I think it's going to be a long, long time from now. Denver's defense is legit. They had a great win to start the season against the New York Giants last week. I expect them to feast on the rookie quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, out there in Jacksonville. That should be a W for the Broncos, if you ask me. Then we get into the later slated games. The Vikings going to Arizona. Arizona probably had the most impressive win of the weekend as they went into Tennessee, backhanded the Titans one time, and did such an impressive job. They were able to get into my top 5 in my power rankings on D-Lo and KC. So they were impressive. They're looking to go 2-0 and see if they can beat down the Vikings in the process. Atlanta at Tampa Bay. The Bucs should take care of business against the Falcons. The Falcons were very, very much unimpressive last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, who the Niners will see today. The Dallas Cowboys going to, and I say that loosely, going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Look, physically, they have to fly there. They're going to be the road team, but there's going to be about 90% Cowboy fans in the building at SoFi Stadium for this one. So it's going to definitely feel like a home game for the Cowboys. They're looking to bounce back after their week 1 loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Chargers looking to go 2-0. And with all the crowd stuff being considered, I still think the Chargers are going to win this game. I think the Chargers are a legit team. I think they're a legit opponent and contender for that AFC West title with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think they take it today at home in their home opener. Once again, home opener against the Cowboys to go 2-0. Tennessee Titans looking to bounce back after that embarrassing beatdown they received at the hands of the Arizona Cardinals. They'll be in Seattle taking on the Seattle Seahawks this afternoon, 1:25 start. That should be an interesting one for Tennessee because you don't want to go 0-2. Although they're in the AFC South, maybe they can afford to go 0-2. That's a wretched division. So they'll be all right. But I'm sure they want to get on the good foot here if they can. Sunday night football, Kansas City Chiefs going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens need this one, and they're suffering bad from the injury bug. They've started out the way the 49ers started out last season, where they just can't get right when it comes to injuries. They're taking on the Chiefs team. It's going to be Patrick versus Lamar Jackson, regardless of how much Lamar doesn't want us to talk about that. Or who was it? Patrick Mahomes said it's not a quarterback versus quarterback. Look, man, you guys are the 2 young stars of this league. It's going to always be Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Now, that's not going to define who's going to win the game, but that's the marquee look of the whole thing. Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. I'll be tapped in for that one for sure. And then Monday night, we got a snoozer, y'all. We got a snoozer. The Detroit Lions. How the hell did the Detroit Lions get a Monday night football game? How did that happen? They're going to Green Bay to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I know a lot of people were, happy, including myself, to see the Packers get beat down last week against the Saints. They rebound this week. They rebound in a big way. I think Aaron Rodgers comes out and destroys the Detroit Lions. Once again, how the hell are they on Monday Night Football? This should be a 10 a.m. game. I don't know what the NFL was thinking, given they hate ESPN. They hate ESPN. That's just what it is, giving them this this Monday night game. That don't make no damn sense. But that's your Monday Night Football game this week. The Detroit Lions going into Green Bay to take on the Green Bay Packers. Now, I wanted to get into some of the stuff that Kyle Shanahan had to say this week because there was a lot going on as everybody gets ready for Niners versus Eagles today in Philadelphia. And we talked about Dre Greenlaw going down, and one of the replacements for Dre Greenlaw is going to be Azeez Al-Shaair, who had a really good game, I thought, against Detroit. And Kyle Shanahan earlier talked about what he saw on film from Al-Shaair as well.
I thought Azeez, live, I thought he was one of the best players on the field, just flying around. I bet I looked that way a little bit on TV too. And when I watched the film on the plane, it was confirmed that he had a hell of a day, hell of a game. And he's got some playing time in for us over the last few years, and that he had his best game there, and I expected to keep just getting better.
I agree, man. I liked what I saw from him. He was swarming all over the place, and Dre Greenlaw is a really good ball player. He's a starter for a reason. He's one of the best linebackers on this team, and I'm not going to say you can just move on from that and everything will be good, because not only do you have a player who is really good, but now you're messing with the depth as well. But Al-Shaair, I think he's up for the challenge. I'm really interested to see how he plays today and moving forward. after what we saw in the preseason and what we saw from him in week 1. Interesting to see how that plays out. Kyle Shanahan also talked about the Philadelphia Eagles and probably the strongest part of this team, that Eagles defensive line, and them trying to get to Jimmy Garoppolo on the 49ers, trying to make sure they keep Jimmy and the running game intact against this Eagles defensive line.
Yeah, they just have a lot more multiple fronts and stuff. They've been the 4-down look for as long as I can remember. Going back to when I was in the NFC East almost 10 years ago. A lot of the same guys, they still play that way though. But they mixed in a 3-4 last week. We know they play 4 down. When they do play 4 down, they look the exact same as they always have. But we also know they have a lot of stuff we haven't seen also. So they got a big package scheme-wise, and we got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to be ready for that. They're going to have their hands full. The 49ers offensive line is going up against that defensive front. Hey, one of the big surprises of week 1 was shortly after this show ended, the actives and the inactives came out. And one of the inactives was 3rd-round pick for the 49ers, Trey Sermon. Everybody had a lot of hopes for him coming into the season, and to see him not even be active to start the season, that was a little jarring. And due to the injuries and maybe just to a better week, he'll be in uniform and active today for sure. Kyle Shanahan talked about what he saw this week from Trey Sermon in practice.
I saw some. I thought he ran the ball better this week in practice. I think that's accurate. That's everyone as the season starts to get going, you're getting better or worse, and it was good. I thought he got better this week.
Yeah, they're going to need Trey. They're going to need Trey. I know Elijah Mitchell looked really good. I think he's a good running back. He's good for this system. But you spend a 3rd-round pick on Trey Sermon, you need to at least have him active out there. All right. I'm not breaking news. He needs to be a running back that is active. All right. He can't be inactive out here and thinking that this pick was okay. So I'm looking forward to see what we see from Trey Sermon. I wasn't overly impressed by what I saw from him in the preseason. But I want to see if he can change his fortunes a little bit and get his season back on a good foot. With a good performance here today in Philadelphia. Another topic of discussion over the week was Brandon Ayuk and how his snaps weren't nearly what everybody expected him to be. He had no catches. I think he only had 1 target on the day. And there was a lot of speculation and talk that he was in the doghouse, and Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. And, it was an emergency in 49ers Twitter. What do we do with Brandon Ayuk? All this other stuff. Kyle Shanahan, he spoke on Brandon Ayuk in the week that he had in practice this week.
Ayuk did have a good week. Yeah, he did.
How do you evaluate
Whether you have a good week?
Yeah.
Just how you run your routes, how you do your blocking assignments, your MAs, how you take the new game plan, what you do on Wednesday to Thursday to Friday, and getting all this stuff. And, it's not just about Ayuk. I know I keep saying this, but I feel bad for him. Everyone's making it just like him. Did he do it also has to do with other receivers in the room, and we got a pretty good group, and I think all those guys had a pretty good week.
I'm gonna tell you now, man, I think Brandon Ayuk will be fine. I think him getting healthy is probably the most important thing for what Kyle Shanahan wants to see from him. And he probably also wants to see him be a little bit more consistent, do things a little bit better on the on the front of being a professional, taking every play literal. He wants to see a little bit more of that, but I think all the doghouse talk, I thought that was a little premature. I think it more had a lot to do with the fact that Ayuk wasn't 100% healthy. And it also had a lot to do with the fact that Trent Sherfield is out here balling right now. He's looking great. He's looking like everything that Kyle Shanahan wants out of a receiver. And the combination of the two made it where they end up splitting time, splitting snaps in that week 1. I expect to see Brandon Ayuk this week. I expect to see him featured in a few different plays. I expect to see him be a factor in a few different plays today in Philadelphia. We heard Kyle talk a little bit about the unit that is probably the best on the Eagles team, and that's the defensive line. Earlier in the week, we talked to Elliot Shore-Park, Eagles reporter for WIP in Philadelphia. He came on with D'Lo and KC, and he gave us a little bit more insight on what the vibes are in Philly right now with this team. And he echoed the sentiments of Kyle Shanahan and myself when talking about the strength of this team for the Philadelphia Eagles and what that ultimately is.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no doubt the strength of the Eagles defense is their defensive line. I mean, they had injuries last year. They had guys underperformed, and they were still 3rd in the league in sacks. So their defensive line is capable of just absolutely dominating a game and taking it over. I mean, you guys know that being in San Francisco, the Niners have a great defensive line. So that can really cover up some issues in the secondary and in the linebacking core. Now, the Eagles linebacking core and secondary is remade from last year. They signed Eric Wilson, who had some of the better stats, at least for a linebacker last year. But he had a rough first week. He missed 4 tackles. He was part of the reason that their run defense struggled. The secondary, they're starting Steven Nelson, Anthony Harris, and they're missing Rodney McLeod and Marcus Epps. So we'll see who they start opposite them. But they also had issues tackling. Darius Slade missed a tackle. They had 8 total missed tackles. So I think that, obviously you saw what the Falcons did against them. I think the Niners could have some success as well running the ball.
Elliot Shore-Parks, Eagles reporter, WIP in Philadelphia, with us here. We saw 2 NFC East teams last night, and the NFC remains a head-scratching division. We talked about the Eagles kind of being a mystery here headed into this year based on the injuries and the quarterback change and some of those different things. Not necessarily based on what you saw last night, but what you've seen here through the first couple of games. How do the Eagles match up with the rest of the teams in the NFC East?
So I think this is a 2-team race. I think it's between the Eagles and the Cowboys. I think you saw last night why the Giants are just not going to be in it. They have bad line play. I don't think they have a good head coach. Daniel Jones is talented, but at the end of the day, he's not shown he can be a winning quarterback or anything really close to it. So I don't take the Giants seriously. Washington is talented, but with Fitzpatrick out, we'll see if Tyler Henneke can keep it up. So I'm not as sold on them. As I started the call by saying, though, I think when you just look at the 22 starters, and I know that's not the only way you can look at it, but just in terms of the offensive line, the defensive line, and the quarterback play, I think the Eagles have the best combination of those 3 in the division. So I actually do think there's a decent chance when this is all said and done. Maybe they don't do it with a winning record, but I think the Eagles do win the division.
The Eagles going up against the Niners on Sunday in Philadelphia. Elliot, if the Eagles are going to win this game, in your opinion, what do they need to do to take down the Niners?
Yeah, so I think one of them is get after Jimmy Garoppolo, right? He's a quarterback that, when he's out there, they've been good. Maybe not always impressive, but they've certainly been good. I think the Eagles have the defensive line to get after Jimmy, move him off his spot. We'll see how much Trey Lance gets in there. So I think it starts with the defensive line. And then on the offensive line, they have to give Jalen Hurts time. If Jalen Hurts has time back in the pocket, I believe Sirianni will be able to script up a good enough game plan to put points up on the Niners. But the Niners do have a great defensive line, and the Eagles have a great offensive line. So I think that will be a great matchup. Ultimately, I think these 2 teams are probably pretty close. I would just give the advantage to the Eagles in this one simply because it's at home. So I think these are very close teams, but I would expect the Eagles to win by a touchdown or so.
They feeling good in Philly right now. They're feeling very optimistic about this Eagles team after the week 1 win over the Falcons. They're feeling very optimistic about going up against the 49ers. I see you guys. I see you in Philly. All right. I see you in Philly. I'm seeing everything. All right. And look, to be fair, the Niners are dealing with injury issues that can't be denied. And the biggest blows so far have been in that secondary. And I'm pretty sure they feel Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and all these guys are going to be able to have some success. I get all that. I understand. Our guy here on ESPN 1320, Kyle Madsen from Niners Wire, from 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area, and from Candlestick Chronicles, he stopped by and talked about how serious of a deal this lack of depth is with the 49ers secondary right now. I made the argument that the secondary personnel-wise isn't that far off from what was out there for them that year they went to the Super Bowl in 2019. And to be honest with you, Kyle wasn't buying it.
So I have 2 things on this. I think you're right. They're a defense that's built front to back. But the problem is, one, you can't just say aside from Richard Sherman, he was an all-pro. And now they're replacing him with a 5th-round rookie in Diamador Lenore, who, again, to his credit, allowed 1 catch on 4 targets for 3 yards against the Lions in his debut, and he played 90 snaps, I think which is insane. But they didn't have to. We didn't know what their depth really looked like. Akella Witherspoon was playing like an all-pro before he got hurt, and then when he came back from his foot injury, he wasn't as good. But I
couldn't play him. He was getting subbed out in the middle of games routinely.
Yeah, at the end of the year, for sure. He was not good when he came back. You're right. But they had Emmanuel Mosley. If Emmanuel Mosley goes down now, they don't have that same luxury of having another starting caliber player off the bench. So that's the issue, is they built this secondary to be 100% healthy when it's like, man, Emmanuel Mosley hasn't been 100% healthy. Jason Verrett, his injury question mark is the problem with him. So I think you're right, though. To that point, if Emmanuel Mosley comes back in week 3 and plays the final 15 games, and if Diamador Lenore in week 1 is how he's going to be the rest of the year, then you're right. They're going to be fine because it's still K'Wan Williams. It's still the Tart Ward safety pairing. But for me, it's all right. Emmanuel Mosley isn't healthy. That's not something you can count on. And now you're counting on a 5th round rookie to be awesome. And you're trying to figure out how to not be a disaster on the other side of him. Because I mean, no matter how good your pass rush is, if your cornerback straight up can't cover a guy, you're going to have an issue. So I'm not saying they need to go trade for Stephon Gilmore, which I don't even think they could do. They don't need to make any crazy splashes yet, because if Emmanuel Mosley's healthy, that helps. But they have a depth issue at corner still that I don't foresee getting fixed anytime soon.
Yeah, I feel you.
Did the final 3 minutes of the last of week 1 bother you? Did it leave you feeling any sort of way?
Yeah, for one reason, like the Deebo Samuel fumble, whatever. The bigger thing I took away from the Deebo Samuel play was that Kyle Shanahan, with the game on the line, put it in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands. He said, "You're going to roll out. You're going to make a throw," which was the bigger deal to me. Deebo Samuel fumbling is, that happens. The weird bounce on the onside kick off George Kittle's face mask, weird football thing. It happens. The concern to me was the depth that we just talked about. It was Dante Johnson. It was Ambry Thomas, and both of them got torched multiple times. Jared Goff turned into Aaron freaking Rodgers in the final 3 minutes because they didn't have anybody who could cover Quintez Cephas and Tyrell Williams. No disrespect to those guys, but come on.
Yeah.
So if this is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, they're going to have to cover guys who are much better than that wide receiver pairing. So that was the thing that stuck out to me, was just how helpless their defense was without Verrett. But no, as far as the oh man, they're going to start giving up 40 points a game, that's not something I'm concerned with.
Kyle Madsen, host of Candlestick Chronicles and a producer over at 95.7 The Game in San Francisco, with us here on D'Lo and KC and ESPN 1320. I'll lift the question that Kenny and I have talked about a great deal this week, straight from a Niners Wire article. What's up with Brandon Ayuk?
Great question. Read the article, find out. So here's what I think happened. I think the Brandon Ayuk's in the doghouse thing got overblown because of what happened to Dante Pettis. It's worth remembering, Dante Pettis, going into his second year, that was 2019, in the first game, he played 2 snaps. 2. Brandon Ayuk split snaps with Trent Sherfield, who by all accounts had a great camp. So I think Kyle Shanahan got his messaging mixed up a little bit. He brought up the hamstring, and then there was this weird thing from Matt Mayoko about how Brandon Ayuk needed to handle things more professionally, but we never got really any explanation on that, no deeper dive on that. I think what happened, my takeaway from what Kyle Shanahan said and just kind of putting puzzle pieces together, is that Brandon Ayuk had the hamstring injury. He missed some practices. The practices he did have, he was inconsistent. And Trent Sherfield came in and was awesome for the entire camp. Mohamed Sanu, the most veteran receiver on the team, calls him textbook Trent because he does everything exactly right. And you can see where a coach like Kyle Shanahan, that demands so much from his players in terms of doing things exactly right, you could see where a player like Sherfield would be appealing to him. And so I think what happened is you get Trent Sherfield, who had this awesome camp, and Brandon Ayuk, who's a better player, but just had a more inconsistent camp. All right, they're going to split snaps because the Niners don't run a ton of 3 receiver sets. So you're not going to get an opportunity to put them both on the field very often. So you're going to have 2 receivers. All right, well, Ayuk and Sherfield are on pretty level footing right now based on what we saw in camp. So they're going to split the snaps. I think Sherfield got one more snap than Ayuk did. I expect that to change, though. If you want to sell your Brandon Ayuk stock, I will take it. I think he's an awesome player. I think he's going to continue to kind of re-earn his job as the number 2 wide receiver. And it wouldn't surprise me if he winds up as the wide receiver 1 again by the end of this year. He's way too talented to be splitting snaps. Again, no disrespect to Trent Sherfield, who I think is good. Ayuk's just a better player, and he should be.
Is the fear of the mobile quarterback back with Jalen Hurts out there this week, who looked really well as both a passer and on the ground last week? That had been a concern for the San Francisco 49ers defense for the last couple of years. Are we on alert for the RPO this week with Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I think so. Granted, it's like, here's the thing, like the Niners defense in 2019 was awesome, and they struggled a little bit with the Kyler Murrays and the Russell Wilsons and the Lamar Jacksons, but guess what? Every team did.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like this is an exclusive 49ers thing where a quarterback that can move gives them trouble. It just makes this really great pass rush look a little more ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Jalen Hurts is going to present a lot of the same problems, especially if he's going to be as accurate as he was last week. The interesting thing that I was looking at last night was his efficiency when he's blitzed versus when he's not blitzed is crazy. He averages almost 11 yards per attempt when teams bring extra rushers. When teams only bring 4, or at least this is against the Falcons. When the Falcons only brought 4, he was like under 6 yards per attempt, which is abysmal. That's really bad. He was completing a lot of passes, but they weren't going very far, and the Falcons are rallying to the football and tackling. So I think that's actually what the Niners are going to try and do. I think they're going to try and keep Hurts in the pocket, really defend against designed runs, and when he does drop back, keep him in the pocket, force him to throw short, and then rally to the football because that's where they're going to have success. It was a lot of short throws. It was a lot of underneath stuff. He took a couple. I think he had 2 throws of 20-plus yards. But they're going to, I think, keep everything in front of them and then use their athleticism in the back end to kind of get to the football and put him in second and long, third and long, where he's going to have to make throws that he didn't have to make against Atlanta.
2 things real quick, Kyle, before we get you out of here. Number one, Al-Shaair, I really like what he did in week 1 against the Lions. I think he's a good ball player. He looked really well. Is he the Dre Greenlaw replacement? Is that who replaces Al-Shaair? Like, how does that work out? Then we asked the guy in Philadelphia what the path was to an Eagles win, and he gave it to us. So I'm going to ask you, what's the path to a 49ers win in Philadelphia?
I think it's what I just said offensively. Like, you can't let Jalen Hurts get in the rhythm that he got in last week, where he was completing everything. I think he completed 77% of his passes. He was getting whatever he wanted on the ground. If they just need to tackle. Like, if they can tackle and the Eagles are going to attack short, I think they're going to have a hard time scoring. On the other side, they have to keep Jimmy Garoppolo clean. Garoppolo was really good last week, but he also didn't face a ton of pressure. It's not so much the concern about him standing in against pressure. He's really good at that. But when the pocket's collapsing, can he still make good decisions the way he did last week? Can he not throw it into another into a defender's chest the way he's been liable to do? So I think as long as they can keep Garoppolo upright, I don't see how the Eagles are going to slow down the 49ers. Their defenders in the second level, especially with their linebackers, I think are the type of players that Kyle Shanahan can really take advantage of. And if you give Garoppolo any kind of time to let plays develop, I think they're going to be fine on that front. And then, like I said, it's on the other side. It's about tackling and not letting them create yards after the catch and putting them in second and third and long and forcing Hurts to make some plays he didn't have to make last week.
Big ups to our guy, Kyle Madsen, always joining D-Lo and KC and getting this right from 95.7 The Game. Couple of news and notes here. Got some good news and some bad news. What you guys want first, man? I'll give you the bad news. I guess you could say bad news. I'm putting air quotes up a little bit here. The 49ers inactives are out. And right now, the bad news would be, well, we kind of knew Aaron Banks, the guard out of Notre Dame, their second round pick. We knew he wasn't going to be active. Ambry Thomas, he's inactive. Zach Kerr is inactive. The bad news here is Emmanuel Mosley, who we thought may be able to come back this week. He is inactive, and he will not play today. Looks like he's close, but he won't play today. The good news is when I read those inactives, you didn't hear the name Javon Kinlaw. because he is active and he is going to be in the game today for the 49ers. They need Javon Kinlaw just because he's a great talent, but also what he does with stopping the run. They had a little bit of a problem with that in the first half of that game against the Lions. Also, Eric Armstead is on that list of active players. So he's going to be in the building and playing. It was kind of touch and go whether or not he was going to play as he had a tough time practicing throughout the week, but he's going to be active. Also, Josh Norman is active. He's going to make his 49ers debut. Not only is he active, he's going to be the starter at the cornerback position. And Trey Sermon is also active. So the 49ers getting some of these guys back, some of these big bodies in here, then seeing if they can rebound off of that and get some things going with stopping the run and stopping Jalen Hurts and what Philadelphia is trying to do out there in Philadelphia. Once again, 49ers, Eagles getting going in a little bit more than an hour from Philadelphia. I've seen videos already. They're planning a 49ers takeover over there at the link. It's gonna be interesting. I guarantee you're gonna see a lot of red in the stands in Philadelphia. The 49ers got one of them fan bases. They're everywhere. You ain't never there. All right. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play out. Real quick, before we get to Kenny's keys to a 49ers victory, looking at the betting line for all my people that like to do that, the 49ers right now, -3 favorite on the day to beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. We have my main man, Quentin Mayo, from the BetQL network and BetMGM tonight. And he came on earlier in the week and he told us what he thought about the prospects of a 49ers Eagles betting line.
Moving forward to this week, as the Niners take on the Eagles team, that's a game that I have my eyes on as well. I mean, number one, I think the over is the play in that game. I know the Eagles they played against the Falcons, and nobody's really high on that Falcons team, but that Eagles team did look extremely sharp. I think right now the total in BetMGM is 49. You know, it's ironic because the 49ers are playing in that game. They allowed 33 points, 454 yards of total offense against the Lions, gave up 21 points after halftime. That's ridiculous, and I think we can all be on the same page that this Eagles offense is better than the Lions offense. Jalen Hurts, 27 of 35, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, 62 yards rushing. I mean, he had a complete control of that offense. So I know I'm going to play the total over 49, but I'm leaning to take the Eagles to cover 3 in that game. But I am scared because the 49ers also might just be like, you know what? We cannot allow that to happen anymore. Like if we go out here and we get up with a big lead early, we have to keep our foot on the pedal. The only thing is injuries are kind of coming in the way of that. And more specifically, we know Raheem Mostert's out for the season, but Dre Greenlaw, the groin injury for him, 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, he's a major part of that defense. And one of the stats that I love from him is that he allowed 4 completions last week, but only for an average of 4.2 yards per target with a passer rating of 44.6. That was the lowest on the team in week 1. He's out with the groin injury. Now, it's good that he is expected to come back here in about 6 to 8 weeks or so, but without him, against this dynamic offense that we've seen the Eagles have right now against the Falcons and the points that you gave up against the Detroit Lions, I don't know. It might get a little scary. I mean, a lot of points are going to be scored, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Philadelphia Eagles at home are hanging around this thing a little longer than expected.
Well, I agree with my man Quinn. There is going to be some points scored today. I agree with that, but I think the Niners are going to take care of business, man. I think they're going to go out there in Philadelphia, do what they need to do to make sure they come back home 2-0 to start the season. Remember, like I said, that would only be the second. Well, that'd be the second time in the last 3 years they started the season 2-0. And you know how they're going to do that? You know how they need to do that? I'm going to tell you right now with little Kenny's keys to a 49ers victory. Yes, indeed. Look, man, first thing they need to do what you do. The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, they run the ball, period. That's their identity. And when you got the odds stacked against you and your back is against the wall the way things seem to be right now with a back-to-back East Coast games to start the season, the injuries to the starters piling up, the Eagles coming in here feeling good about themselves after winning week 1. When all that is going on, you get back to what you know and you do what you do to get through it. That can be a bad thing. And a bunch of different if you have a bunch of different bad habits as a team. But I don't think that's the case with the Niners, man. They run the rock. And when all else fails, that's what they need to do today. Well, part of what they need to do today. They need to unlock the running game early and often. So I'll tell you right now, here's Kenny's key. The 49ers run the ball 25 plus times today. They'll get that win in Philadelphia. They'll get that win, and it'll be a happy flight back to the West Coast. Number 2, he with us. He with us. The Niners have forced one turnover last week against the Lions. That was Dre Greenlaw's pick 6. They're going to need to be some ball hawks out there today. They're going to need to be swarming and looking to change games with some turnovers. I want to see maybe Fred Warner getting one of those punch the ball out, force fumbles, or whatever the case may be. He's really good at that. We need some playmakers on the defensive end. Get that offense a couple of extra possessions. That's going to be big time if they can do that. Force 2 or more turnovers a day, and they'll win for sure. Book that. Number 3, this is a Kyle Shanahan game. A lot of concern for the 49ers defense, and specifically the 49ers secondary after losing Verrett and still being without Emmanuel Mosley. Concern after losing Dre Greenlaw. Concern after not knowing how healthy Eric Armstead is going to be today, even though he's active. Concern after not knowing how healthy Javon Kinlaw is after he's going to be in this game being healthy. The concern is everywhere. This is where Kyle Shanahan, if he's as good as people like myself think he is, this is where he puts the team on his back. Well, as much as he can from the sidelines, but this is where he schemes some things up, finds the proper mismatches, gets his playmakers the ball, and gets them the rock in space. Kyle's going to have to bring these boys home today. I think they're going to have to put up some points to win today. If they can score 30-plus points, they'll get out of Philly with the dub. Yes, I said it. They're going to need to score 30-plus today, and they are fully capable of doing so with that offensive firepower that they have. 30-plus in the shootout today. Also, to go along with forcing 2 turnovers, and if they can run the ball 25-plus times, they're going to come out of Philly with that win. Niners are going to be 2-0 if they can do all of that. This is all the time I have for 49ers game day. I appreciate you guys tapping in. It's not over because I'm going to be back after the show, after the game, with the post-game show for 49ers game day. It is a 49ers Sunday. They're in Philadelphia. They're trying to go 2-0. Let's see if they can bring it on home, man. It's your man, Kenny Caraway, ESPN 1320. Shout out to everybody that tapped in on YouTube and Twitch. You can do the same thing for the post-game show. Follow me with all my thoughts and all my jokes at IamKDiddy on Twitter. We're going to have a good time this Sunday. Y'all be good. 49ers game day, not a game. Let's go. Talk to you guys later on. Thank you very much, Charlie. Thank you very much, man. So I'm gonna disconnect, get me some breakfast, and I'll see you after this game. When the game is over, if you can, I like to listen to the post game show. So if you could have that playing, that would be great. Sounds good. All good, man. I appreciate you, man. All right. My people, YouTube, Twitch, man, I appreciate you guys tapping in, man. Andrew Sterling, man, what's up, man? Yeah, okay, what's up, John Bull? All you guys getting up early. Josue, not even a Niners fan, getting up early and tapping in with me, man. So thank you guys, man, for showing love. Scott Lee, what's up, big dog? Yes, the Giants. Yeah, it was a 49er show, but we talk about them Giants on D-Lo and KC. You know what it is. Rob W., I appreciate all you guys, man. T Green, Magic Man. The Game 916, thank you guys, man, for tapping in early. If you're not doing nothing, I'm going to be here after the game on the post-game show. Hopefully, I'll be in a good mood. If the Niners lose, there's going to be a bunch of people that tap into the post-game show just to see me flip out. I've noticed that, and it's all good, man. It's all good. We have fun with 49er football. We have good with NFL, all that other stuff. So if the Niners win, I'm going to tell you today, I'm going to be hyped because it's a big one. It's a big one. If they can get this one to go 2-0, that would be all good, man. But once again, man, thank you guys for tapping in. And hopefully I'll see you guys after the game. If I don't see you guys after the game, I'll be here Monday with my man D-Lo. So appreciate you guys, man. Y'all take care. I'm up out of here.